I know what you're saying, and I'm not going to comment on US positions and how you should structure your affairs if you're abroad. The weird thing is, from a UK point of view, actually running your crypto through your company is not a great idea, because as I said, most of your capital gains are going to be taxed at 20%. In the UK, we're in the process of increasing our corporate tax rates to 25%, which means if you're in a situation where you're going to pay 25% in the company versus 20% personally, there's no point doing it. And I've actually had to restructure a few clients out of their companies, where their accountants or old advisors have said to them, that stick it all in the company, you'll only pay 20%. Probably get the money out of the company afterwards. But yeah, so.
That brings up a good question too. That may be interesting here. What is the best way? Is there a way in the UK to structure, through a company or other entity to have the best tax advantages for crypto?
So generally, and this is a very loose term, generally most crypto is going to be better held personally, unless you're in a situation where you have got significant income. And then you look at HEX, and I think there's a strong argument that HEX shouldn't be income anyway. So if you were mining heavily, if you were staking and you had massive amounts that you were staking, in those situations you might be better off having the income in a company. But for most people, the major money, the major profits they make are from capital growth. What I have been doing recently is developing a UK-based pension scheme which can hold crypto, and all of a sudden, when you've got your crypto in a pension, it's exempt from income tax, it's exempt from capital gains tax, it's exempt from inheritance tax, and it suddenly becomes a very interesting structure. And I've got a trustee I'm working with that we're putting together a pension scheme which will hopefully allow people to hold up to £1 million in crypto completely tax-free. But beyond that, wow. I have a lot of clients who talk about, do we put it in a trust? Do we stick it in a company? And actually the answer at the moment is no. Keep it simple. The lowest tax rate you're going to get in the UK is 20%, and that's holding it personally. The other side of it, and I do have quite a few clients who are having this conversation, is, what if I don't want to pay my 20%? The answer is leave the country. And it is, it's one of those things where if you've made significant money in crypto and you've got significant gains, there are a lot of countries that don't tax crypto gains at all. Portugal at the moment, they might be changing the rules over there. Portugal doesn't tax crypto gains. Germany has a 1-year exemption, which means if you hold your crypto for more than a year and you then sell it, it's exempt. There are lots of Middle Eastern countries. There are kind of Channel Island countries. Sort of a lot of the Far East has CGT exemptions. So there are lots of places. The Caribbean's also a good place to look at. There are a lot of places you can go to and pay basically zero tax on your crypto. But the UK is not one of those.
Yeah, not yet. Hopefully it'll catch up.
Yeah, and it's then a question of whether it's your lifestyle allows you to do that.
Yeah. So just going on that a little bit. Let's say there is a scenario where you have a Hexagon who invested early. They're in the UK. They made a lot of money. They want to get some liquidity, or they want to cash out, or whatever it is they want to do. Is the best advice to move to another country? Like, what would you do with someone who's got millions of dollars worth of Hex? There's plenty of people out there who have that.
I have quite a few clients in that situation. Sadly, a lot less millions of dollars than they had a couple of months ago.
Brutal.
I know.
Yes.
It's they made millions from this. I didn't.
Not yet.
But yeah, it's yes. The answer is if your life circumstances mean that you can move somewhere abroad and crystallize your gains, then and you can do it while still enjoying your life. And I have this conversation with a lot of my clients where they've made serious money, and it might be crypto, it might be just business, it might be they've got assets. If the first thing you should think is, do I want to go abroad? do I want to go and spend my life living on a beach? Do I want to go spend my life living in Guernsey? Do I want to go and go somewhere quiet? Do I where do I want to live my life? And what's tying me to home at the moment? Have you got kids in school? Have you got elderly parents that need looking after? Have you got all your friends here? And what's the saving versus the cost?
I just want to ask too, like, how would you actually do it? Like, let's say you've been staked for a long time, you have these millions, you want to get cash. Could you literally just go to another country and live? Like, is there a time limit? You need to live there for a year. If you come back, do you need to pay retroactively or anything? Like, what's the details around that?
Yep. So yes to all of the above, but basically we have something called the statutory residence test here, which basically counts the number of days you're in the UK. To avoid your CGT on your crypto, you need to be non-resident, so you need to be out of the UK and it really does depend, somewhere between 16 and 90 days. So sorry, for you can only be in the UK for somewhere between 60 and 90 days, depending on your circumstances. 90 days is kind of the ballpark that a lot of people talk about. But I had a guy who was working full-time abroad and ended up being here for 46 days and was UK tax resident because of his circumstances. So even though he was working, he was genuinely on a full-time contract abroad, but because of the circumstances, he got caught out by some bad advice historically, and was UK resident despite only being here slightly more than that. I think it was 58 days, but it was less than 60, which is what he needed to score. But he was in a situation where if you plan things in the right way, if you know the number of days you're allowed to spend in the UK, you can arrange it quite easily. For a lot of my clients, we can get to 90 days quite easily. So you can spend 90 days in the UK and not become tax resident. The first couple of years, it might be less than that because you might still have a home that you can stay in. You might have been here more. You might have spent more days here than other countries. But the bottom line is, as long as you do your day counting and you don't spend more than you're allowed in the UK. So you go to Portugal, you go to Dubai, you go to somewhere where they don't charge tax. You then make your gain. It's not taxable in the UK if you're not resident that tax year. However, we then have this concept of temporary non-resident, which basically says that if you come back within 6 years, you are then taxed on all of the gains during that period when you arrive back in the UK. So it has to be a long-term decision. It has to be one of these things where you're going to do this and it's going to be a semi-permanent decision. And you don't have to go and stay in one place. You can have a year in Portugal and a year in Dubai, and you can have a year on a yacht sailing around the world if you've got the money to do it. But you need to be non-resident for that 6-year period.
So millionaire hexagons in the UK, if you're okay and you want to cash out and you're okay with living abroad for at least 6 years in a place that is tax preferential in whatever way you find out, that's a plan. Is that right?
Yep. And a lot of tax havens are quite nice places to go and spend some money.
Yeah. It does